The opinions expressed in the following program are not necessarily those of Eastlink Community TV, its sponsors, or partners.
Titans of Business, Eastlink Community TV, the program that gives you the chance to meet the people who have built some of the most successful businesses in our region. Today, the CEO of the Steele Automotive Group, Mr. Rob Steele, on Titans of Business. It is great to have you on the program.
Well, thank you for inviting me.
When you were just a little guy, what was your answer to the question, Rob, what do you want to be when you grow up?
Well, that's always a tough one, because, circumstances often dictate what you end up doing. But as a kid, when you grow up, it's hard to know what you want to do. And I didn't really have any solid notion of what direction I wanted to go. Even when I went to university, I wasn't sure what I was going to do when I got out. It so happened I ended up primarily in the car business. But that was probably because my interest lied there and I sort of moved in that direction. But I didn't really have a clear notion of what I wanted to do.
What you did have, though, was a dad and a mom, both of whom were incredible entrepreneurs, correct?
Yes, that's right, yeah. My dad was, he was a naval officer and did a full Navy career, 23 years in the Navy. And he retired in his mid-40s. And just before retiring, he and my mother had bought a 48-room motel called the Albatross in Gander, Newfoundland. And the idea was Dad would retire from the Navy and he and my mom would run this hotel, and that would be their, that would be kind of the next phase of their career.
What's great about you is your dad's a legendary business figure, but you always mention your mom and what you learned from her.
Yeah.
What did you get from your mom?
Well, Mom was very much a real part of my father's, and they were really a team. A business team. My mom she was a very decisive kind of woman. And she would, the real estate was a real interest of hers. So she would buy houses build houses and buy them sometimes and flip them. That was kind of her interest, was really real estate. So my father, they both had an interest in the stock market, my father primarily. So they were kind of business oriented, and my dad being in the military, I don't think that really satisfied his thirst or quest for fulfillment in terms of what he really wanted to do. But they were very much a cohesive team, particularly when they took over the hotel, because my mom ran the hotel. My father wasn't an operator per se, that wasn't his interest. But my mother was, she designed the food menu and the waitresses' uniforms, and she would hire and people, and she managed it.
She was a force as well, wasn't she?
She was.
Yeah. Can you look back and trace any origin of your love of automobiles?
Yeah, I've always liked cars, and I couldn't wait to get my license when you're old enough, and that was 16 in Newfoundland, and I remember I got my license on a Toyota Land Cruiser, and it was a standard. But I was driving cars since I was 9, 10, not obviously on the road, but in the driveway and that kind of thing. So I had always had an interest in cars.
Did you ever try to figure out why you loved them so much? Or was it like Starsky and Hutch's car on TV, or?
Well, I remember all those shows. Yeah, Batman. I was a big Batman fan.
Right.
Batmobile. I don't know. I think a lot of young kids like cars. Cars are kind of a cool thing,
Yeah. The Steele Automotive Group, your first car dealership.
Yeah.
When and how does that open?
Well, the first one would have been Collins Chrysler. That was in 1989, 90, I believe it was. Yeah. That was the first one. Myself and Tom Collins and John Mosier. 3 of us were partners in that dealership. Yeah.
How big was that at the time?
Oh, it's just it was a Plymouth dealership, Chrysler Plymouth. It was one of 4 Chrysler dealerships in Metro, Dartmouth, Halifax at the time, and I think it was number 4 of the 4 dealerships. It was a relatively small volume.
Can you compare that to the Steele Automotive Group today in terms of number of employees and size of business?
Well, that would have been I was a young man. I was only in my late 20s when I embarked on that venture, and I mean, today we're 65 dealerships and nearly 3,000 employees. So.
Biggest in Atlantic Canada?
Oh yeah.
Right. You're a consolidator. What does that mean in the auto business?
Well, it means an aggregator of businesses. So, for example, if you're into the restaurant business or the donut business or what, you buy, or Subway business, like you buy shops / dealerships. You're an aggregator, consolidator. You group, you scale up. You scale the business up.
So you have a lot of brands of cars under your umbrella.
Yes.
Yeah,
we do.
You sell cars in Austin, Texas, too. How did that ever happen?
Well, I mean, we can cover this, but of course I used to be in the broadcast business as well, in the radio business, and there was a South by Southwest, which now is a very well-known festival in Austin, would have they had a media / radio component to that festival. And I went there, I think the first time was in the year 2000, and it was in Austin, Texas, where it still is held today. And I went to the South by Southwest, and I was really enamored with Austin and the state of Texas. I really liked it.
You decided I'm going to open a business or two here.
I didn't. My first dealership there was really only in 2020. Right when COVID hit.
Yeah. Is it different selling to Americans as opposed to Canadians?
Well, I mean, yeah, there's some differences in the banking structure, in terms of work rules and things like that. There are definitely differences, but fundamentally it's the same dynamic.
Yeah. Fundamentally, how do you sell a car to someone? What's the process?
Well, everybody's different, of course, and the decision process for people is different. And some people know exactly what they want. They do extensive research. Now you can do it online, and they know what they want. They know the pricing, everything before they come to the dealership. And some people they just rely on on being educated at the dealership on what to buy. But that process is fairly complex, in terms of why people decide to buy what they buy.
Depends on the person, right?
Sure.
Yeah. You and I spoke on the phone about a week ago, and you debunked a theory I always had. I always thought the car businesses, the bottom line was driven by the number of new vehicles that would leave your lot. Mm-hmm. It is not driven by that at all, you told me, right?
Well, I mean, it's obviously an important component, but you really, the auto business is several businesses in one. It's a parts business, it's a repair service business, it's the used car sales, the new car sales, body shop repair. So all of those, are 5 profit centers within a dealership.
But service is paramount?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
So you want to get cars on the road and have those cars become part of your family.
That's right. Even if you sell a car that's at cost, generally speaking, people will bring the car back to where they bought the car, and so you will service the car over the life of the ownership. And of course, that's a significant revenue generating model for the business.
When you crystal ball and gaze a bit, are electric cars the way of the future, or is that too simple a statement?
I believe they are. I think it's they've got a long way to go. Battery technology is still evolving. The cost and the range isn't quite where we're going to get mass acceptance, but that is starting to ramp up, and I believe it will happen. I think it's going to happen a little slower than if you asked me a year ago, I would have thought we'd be further along in terms of market share on electric vehicles, but we aren't. It's currently in Canada, we're about 7.5%, I believe, nationally. In Atlantic Canada, it's actually less than 4%. So despite all the media hoopla and coverage, the actual take or sales of vehicles are relatively small. And Tesla, of course, is a huge part of that equation. You take Tesla out of that equation, a market share with the traditional OEMs. Now, OEM stands for original equipment manufacturer, like Ford, Honda, et cetera. The original OEMs, they have relatively small market share compared to Tesla has about 60%.
Right. About 3 minutes left in this segment. Let's talk radio for a bit.
Yeah.
There was a time when you owned about 100 radio stations as the president of New Cap Radio.
That's right. Yeah.
For a guy that loves music like you do.
I do.
Was that a dream job?
It was a fun job. It was a very fun job, and I really enjoyed I enjoyed the industry, the music component of the industry, the energy in the industry. It was fantastic.
Part of business is knowing when to sell. You sold, I think, 2018.
That's right.
For $500 million to Stingray.
That's correct, yeah.
That's a good deal.
Yeah.
Worked okay. Yeah. Rolling Stones.
Yes, sir.
Okay, Rolling Stones. you love rock and roll, but you have a devotion to this group. Why so?
Growing up in Gander, Newfoundland, music was a big part of, our lives. My brothers and my friends, music was, we would, hang out in each other's houses and basements and play records. And back then, of course, it was vinyl. And, we just got into a lot of music, different music. I first got into the Guess Who, and then the Eagles, and a friend of mine, Jim Lewington, introduced me to the Rolling Stones when I was I think I was 12 or 13 at the time, and I was just blown away by the sound. I just loved the band, and I've become a big fan of them since.
You've had the chance to meet them.
I have.
They always say you shouldn't meet your heroes. Was it okay meeting your heroes? These guys?
It's fantastic. Yeah.
How would you describe them?
Very. It's hard to describe. I mean, for me, because I am a fan, and I've met them several times now. It's everything I thought it would be, to be honest. And they're very nice to chat. Nice to chat with.
How many times have you seen the Stones in concert?
I've seen the Stones. I'm going to say 35 or more times.
Do you know anybody who's seen them more?
Yes, I do.
Like how many more?
Oh well, I met a guy at a concert once that had seen them 87 times or something. And then I met a guy, believe it or not, said he saw them over 200 times.
Wow.
It's hard to fathom. But.
So in that age-old battle, who would you rather have on a desert island, the music of the Stones or the Beatles? No question for you.
Well, it would be the Rolling Stones, but the Beatles are fantastic.
Right.
They're amazing.
Yeah. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we'll head to the Steel Wheels Motor Museum. We'll start them up, I guess.
Okay.
There's a segue for you. Rob Steele, our guest. Titans of Business continues on Eastlink Community TV. As promised, we're here at the Steel Wheels Motor Museum. It opened May 20th, 2023, so coming up on a year anniversary. How did this place come to be?
Well, it's an interesting story, Bruce. So, like all of us during COVID, I mean, we were all kind of, batten down the hatches in our homes and not be able to go anywhere, even gather with friends. It was quite a trying time. So, like everybody, trying to figure out what to do. Myself, I was kind of bored. And I kind of rekindled my passion in cars. And with that, I started going online, looking at cars, and started buying the odd car here or there. And I'd have it shipped to Nova Scotia, and I'd be scrambling to try to find a place to store it. And a couple of friends of mine, we started, almost like a little mini car club, if you will. We acquired a number of these vehicles, and we had them stored in various places in Nova Scotia. And I rented a space in Burnside, and it was only temporary because it was a very temporary lease. And I put all the cars there for the time being. It was kind of a dusty place. The lighting wasn't great. But I found friends and would contact me and say, look, I heard you have all these cars. Can I bring my kid over to have a look at these cars? And I had a lot of requests like that. And an idea went off in my head that maybe I should find somewhere like a showroom to display these cars. So we started looking, and we finally ended up with this place here in Bears Lake.
Is every car in here? I guess there's 60 or 70. Are they all yours?
Well, they're all, not all. No, there are some that are friends. For example, that Aston Martin over there belongs to a good friend of mine. So but most of them are part of our collection. Yeah,
and it's going well here, isn't it? Like we mentioned, almost a year and about 25,000 people through.
That's right. We've had over 25,000 people through here.
Yeah. What do you say you take us and show us one or two of your very favorite?
Absolutely.
So what do you like about this one?
Well, this one is a 1990 Countach, one of the last 20 built. And the unique thing about this car is that it's totally brand new, has never been registered. So this car came from the Lamborghini dealer and has 135 kilometers on it. It's got to be the lowest kilometer, cleanest Countach in the world.
It's got original seat covers, doesn't it?
Exactly. Look, the plastics are on the seat. So,
Do people come in here and just go nuts over this one?
yeah, well, it's one of my favorites. The Countach is automotive. It's art. It's pure art.
So in a museum full of beautiful Ferraris and Lamborghinis, we're going to talk about a golf cart here. What's
Here we
this all
are.
about?
This is done in the Evel Knievel theme with the stars and stripes, red, white, and blue.
Yeah.
Which was Evel Knievel's colors, and of course he wore the jumpsuit and the capes when he. And he used to theme, his all his motorcycles in this color scheme. His golf cart.
Harley Davidson.
There you go.
Right there.
Harley Davidson. Of course, he jumped Harley Davidsons, right?
He did, yeah.
750 XRs is what they were. Stock 750 XRs is what Evel Knievel jumped. And of course, you know about his boat.
Well, I know about it because I know you bought it. And
That's right.
I think when you did buy this yacht, I guess it was 3-4 years ago, when you bought it, you did not know that it was once owned by Evel
I had
Knievel?
no idea. I was in the boat market. I was looking at a boat in Florida, and there was this old boat parked next to the one I was actually looking at, and I really admired its lines. It was a classic-looking boat, and it's a 75-foot Broward. And I Googled the name of the boat because it was called, I forget what it was called, but when I Googled it, the boat came up, picture of it, and it was the boat, and it said it was once owned by Evel Knievel. And that piqued my interest because I liked the boat itself, but when I found out that Evel Knievel actually owned it, it made it that much more appealing to me.
And he became, from that point on, kind of a fascination for you, right?
He really did, yeah, he really did. I got to know lots of Evel Knievel fans around the world. They reached out to me because of that segment. And I got to know Evel Knievel's family. I got to meet his wife. And now, I feel like I'm part of the Evel Knievel world, so to speak.
Well, you're also part of a group that's going to build a museum in his honor, right?
That's right.
Where's that going to be?
That's going to be in Las Vegas. That opens up later in 2024.
Yeah.
It's a 36,000 square foot museum, Extreme Sports Hall of Fame featuring Evel Knievel, and it will have his 6 of his motorbikes. We have the Snake River Canyon rocket that he actually jumped.
Wow.
It's going to be interactive motorcycle rides and games. It's quite an elaborate show.
You have a lot of fun, don't you?
Yeah.
Why not? What do you think? Think this works?
I don't know.
Let's
I have
find
no
out.
idea.
If it does, we're going to throw to commercial. Let's see what happens.
no,
More with Rob Steele in just a moment. Titans of Business continues on Eastlink Community TV. Final segment on Titans of Business with the CEO of the Steele Automotive Group, Mr. Rob Steele. You mentioned earlier you have close to 3,000 employees.
Yes.
What kind of leader do you think you are for them? How would you describe your style of leadership?
Oh, that's tough. I would, I hope they would think enthusiastic, dedicated, transparent. All those things I hope would be, and accessible. I think that's very important. Not aloof or I like to, when I visit a dealership, I like to go all over. Walk through the service bays, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You a routine sort of guy? Do you have stuff you do
No,
every day?
I'm not. I'm really not. I'm not a really formal meeting sort of person. My management style is more, I'll walk down the hall and have a cup of tea and sit down in someone's office and yard. And I find, for me, information flow is much more efficient that way versus, okay, we're going to have a meeting now at 8 a.m. I'll sit down with this, the COO of our group, and we'll go over the events for the next half hour. I find it's better to have a more casual. I find information flow is just much better.
Is there a sort of person you look for when you hire?
I really don't. Maybe there is. I think I do look for energy, good energy in terms of enthusiasm. That is very important. I like it when people are haven't jumped around. They haven't got a resume where they've been employed. They transfer every year or something like that. They're pretty steady because you want people, when you invest in people and they come on, you're really part of a team. You want them to stay.
How would you say your definition of success has changed from, I guess, 29 when you first opened a dealership to early 60s now? What's success mean to you today?
You know, success to me is, I think, you know, is having peace of mind. You know, and for, you know, that doesn't mean in terms of monetarily or that kind of thing. I think it's important to, you know, be happy in your own skin, and you know, be fulfilled with family and friends.
You're in a position now where daily you could be on that yacht we saw in the last block, or I don't know if you like golf, you could be playing golf, whatever. What keeps you coming back into work every day?
You know, what keeps me coming back is I feel it's really important to do something you like to do. If you like to do, people call it passion, but really if you like to do something, you're enthusiastic about it, and you'll put in the time. Time is very important, because if you don't invest the time, you're not going to be successful. And you know, to me, it's not even work. It's something I like to do. I love the interaction, going into the office, catching up on, you know, what projects are in the works, how we're proceeding with certain things. You know, to me, I'd rather do that than be out on a golf course or even be out on a boat.
Yeah, I've heard you use the word, it's the juice for me. What does that mean, the juice?
It's the gas. It's you know, it's the fuel that keeps you going. You know.
Have you made we do this show in large part for young entrepreneurs who might be tuning in. Have you made a mistake along the way from which you've learned that somebody might not make if they hear what it was from you?
I made a lot of mistakes.
Yeah.
Look, a business, whether it be small or large, the dynamics you know, of business are all the same. And some of the mistakes I've made have to do with overextending, you know, buying, you know, extending the balance sheet when you really weren't ready. Of course, you know, you scramble, you try to make it work, and you know, eventually you build your business up, and you de-lever. You know, you keep your balance, your debt and balance sheet clean. Yeah, I've had times where I've been probably a little too ambitious. You know.
Yeah. Where do you think you got the self-confidence that's required to take risks in business?
Probably, I don't know what that is. Maybe my parents, because they took risks. You know, I'm not, everybody's appetite for risk is different. And to me, I don't think of myself as taking huge risks. I think, you know, obviously there is a level of risk, but I don't feel it's reckless or something that's, you know, I'm not going to bet the farm. You know, certainly at this stage of my life, I'm not going to. But, you know, certainly when you're in your 20s and your 30s, and you're learning a lot as you go. And to me, you know, I'm a better businessman at 60 than I was at 30. You know, there's just a lot of lessons you learn. And even people can tell you things, and you can try to absorb that wisdom or whatever of your elders, people that have done it before. Experiencing it and doing it yourself is a real teacher, right?
Yeah. You might have just answered this, but this is the final question we ask on every episode of this program. What's the biggest part of your story from which a young entrepreneur can learn?
Oh my God.
Good one, huh?
Yeah. What's the biggest part of my story?
Yeah.
I would have to say, make a decision. We make decisions in life every day, right? And the decisions we make, who you choose as a partner, a life partner, a business partner, you know, where you live, where you go to school. These are all important decisions that affect your future. So don't be afraid to make decisions, but to your best of ability, make the best decision you can make that's going to benefit you and your family, and you know, and hopefully you can, by you being successful, you can give back to the community and be a good community citizen.
Right. A great piece of advice upon which to close. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Great seeing you. Rob Steele, the CEO of the Steele Automotive Group, our guest on this edition of Titans of Business. It airs on Eastlink Community TV. We'll see you next time.